The Seeker of Wisdom. I'm a manifestation coach, and in this video, we're going to be talking about why you may be potentially be struggling to manifest your SP. Now, before I do so, I'd like to remind you guys I am available for coaching. I offer hourly, monthly, email, and DM coaching. The link will be in the description down below, where you'll be led to an FAQ page where you will have all the information you need. If you want information regarding pricing, you can email me via 20thseeker@gmail.com, or you can DM me via Instagram as well. I also have a Facebook group where I upload resources, as well as you can ask me questions anonymously. Along with that, I also have a mailing list where I'll post articles from time to time, along with my latest offers for coaching and discounts as well. So all the link in the description down below, so be sure to check it out. So without further ado, guys, let's get to it. So what really prompted this video was I was reading Neville's book Out of This World and the Search, right? So I was reading that book, and I was reading that chapter called Assumptions Becomes Facts, and it really kind of like hit me, you know, as to why people may be struggling with SP. And to complement this, like what happened was like today, like I think one of my clients was asking me like, how do I know if I have persisted enough? Like how do I actually know if I've done enough affirming, enough scripting, and like so on. And that's what kind of led me to really this video, was really those questions. And it kind of made me realize as to why people may be struggling when it comes to manifesting an SP, because I've been noticing a trend amongst my friends and my clients that I feel like should be addressed. Maybe this can help you, when it comes to manifesting your SP as well. So grab your coffee, grab your tea, your snacks, or whatever, right? And sit back, relax, and yeah. Um, when it comes to this, like one thing that I've noticed is that people, like, they tend to focus a lot on the techniques, but at the same time they tend to be reacting to the 3D a lot whilst doing those techniques, right? So they're affirming and everything, but in the process of like doing so, like after, like immediately, like let's say they are done with their affirmations, they immediately go back into the old story, right? So they will be like affirming like he loves me, he's begging to be with me, and so on. And then like immediately they will go back, like and like check their phones or their WhatsApp chats or like Facebook Messenger chats or something like that, right? And then they will be like, well, why hasn't he texted yet, for example? And when that happens, right, like when you're having those kinds of thoughts, you then realize like, okay, these thoughts are essentially negating my previous affirmations, right? So we call this like vain affirming, because all your affirmations are being neutralized by the thoughts that comes afterwards, right? So affirming essentially is just a set of thoughts that you're repeating over and over again, so that may become your thought process. But if you're doing the exact opposite thereafter, then it becomes futile, right? So the first thing, again, like I will repeat this in every one of my SP videos if I have to, but you have to stop checking the 3D at least in the beginning, right? A lot of people tend to lack the self control and self discipline to not check the 3D with regards to their SP, right? This is a very, very common pitfall that I'm seeing with a lot of people. And they're like, yes, I know I shouldn't have done it, but no, don't check the 3D. That's it, period, right? No buts, no ifs, nothing, right? A lot of people tend to think about their first year anniversaries with their SP. Oh, 1 year ago I met this SP, but now I'm so on. Or oh, Valentine's Day is coming, but they have not texted me yet. Oh, like today was supposed to be our day or something like that, right? But SP didn't text me. Like, and you use that as an excuse to go and like check their social medias or something like that, and then you think about like, okay, what is it they are up to? But my point is like, that is only going to make this worse for you, right? Because your thoughts are being reflected in your 3D, and chances are when you are checking social media and stuff like that, what really goes on is that you are looking for evidence otherwise. But because everyone is pushed out, you're exactly going to see what's going on within, And if you are coming from a place of fear and lack and whatnot, that's what you're going to see, right? So remind yourself of that, and see all the things that you like to see in your imagination, and dwell in that instead as much as you can, right? Again, so one of the common pitfalls is people checking 3D. So please do not check your 3D, right? If you're manifesting your SP, like, don't check 3D, right? Put the emphasis on yourself. And that leads me to the other thing, right? Putting yourself on the pedestal. Now this is being spoken to death by the community, especially in a lot of Facebook groups and everything, so I won't dwell in this too much. But putting yourself on the pedestal really means prioritizing yourself, giving yourself the love that you desire, rather than looking out for it via another person, right? In this case, it's SP. Rather than searching for this love from another person, you give yourself that love, right? How does that look like? Taking care of yourself, eating well, making sure that your work is done on time, right? Like dwelling in your imagination where you are treated like a king or a queen, right? And really seeing that as your reality, and really dwelling in those types of things, and start seeing yourself as that. Giving gratitude for yourself, really invoking a sense of appreciation for yourself, and really like empowering yourself through those kinds of thoughts, and that's what you have to do, like, and really hyping yourself up essentially, and putting yourself first and not anyone else, right? And you always give importance to yourself, right? And that's how you really develop the idea of like putting yourself on the pedestal, rather than imagining scenes of like how you are convincing SP. A lot of people tend to do this, right? This is one thing that I've noticed amongst my clients, is that when they are telling me about their imaginal scenes, right, a few of them have told me something along the lines of them proposing to the SP, or like convincing the SP essentially, and the SP agreeing to it, and that's their imaginal scene. But right there, like, one big flaw that I see is they are putting their SP on a pedestal still, because their happiness or their sort of ideal outcome is very dependent on the reply that the SP will say. Oh, SP has it, yes. But that still low key for me is like putting the SP on a pedestal. Whereas if I were to have done that scene, like, I would be thinking about how SP would propose to me, for example, right? Like, how would they make it up to me, for example, right? What would they say to me to convince me that this relationship is worth staying in? That's a key difference right there, right? Because a lot of people's imaginal scenes are based on like them convincing their SP that this relationship is worth like pursuing, and or continuing for that matter, and then the SP saying yes. And for me, I'd like to switch it up. Put yourself first, see the SP, but a lot of people don't see it that way, because they think it's too good to be true. So that there is a leap in logic that they have to do, and that is why, the reason why it seems like a leap in logic is because it is, right? But that's why you have to deny your senses, deny the 3D, and you dwell in your imagination, embody it directly, and you dwell in your imagination. Just ask yourself this question: what if SP apologizes to me, and wouldn't it be wonderful, or wouldn't it be funny if like SP is trying to convince me to stay in this relationship? And really dwell in that, even if it's funny, right? Even if it seems like too good to be true, like, just dwell in that scene, right? Even sarcasm can be used to your advantage, so please use it to your advantage here, right? So a pitfall that I also see is, I took some notes here, let me just refer to it, is that people don't perceive their SP with regards to their end state, right? Say you are manifesting your SP right now, you're affirming, you're scripting, you're doing everything, right? But you are not like seeing them in an ideal way yet. You're not seeing them with regards to the end yet. So what do I mean by this, right? You still perceive them, or you still think of them as you have seen them in the 3D thus far, right? In other words, you are really holding on to the past version of them still, whilst you're doing all of these things, right? And that's something that you should not do. Rather, you dwell in the imaginal version of them, or the 4D version of them, as I like to call it, right? and really dwell in that, and you perceive them as you would, for the 4D version, you see them as the 4D version, right? So what do I mean by the 4D version? For those of you who are wondering, if you're not familiar with it, is this 4D version is a version of them that you have chosen from the infinite parallel realities that exist. And this 4D version has all the ideal qualities that you wanted your SP to have right from the get-go, right? So you dwell in this version instead. Whenever you are thinking about your SP, you always think about the 4D version instead, rather than thinking about the 3D version, right? So this 4D version has all the ideal qualities that you want your SP to have, and this version is really the perfect version for you. And you always think about your SP with regards to the 4D version, disregard the 3D version completely, right? Because a lot of people, one flaw that I've seen is they tend to do all their affirmations and everything, and they tend to view their SP based on the 3D. And oftentimes, because this version of them has been unfavorable thus far, like it really kind of like drains them to an extent, because they are like, but I'm doing all of these things, but SP is still like that, so how does this work? And that is something that you can undo by discarding the 3D version of them completely and dwelling in the 4D version of them, and really thinking about it from that perspective. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. The other thing I would say a lot of people tend to do is wondering about the when and the how, um, and like, how is this all going to pan out? And again, like, that is not our concern, right? I've already spoken about this in other videos as well, but that is the how and the when is not our concern. And the way I perceive it for myself, and the way I justify it for myself, is our higher self is like our like our genie, right? It figures everything for us. And if we are navigating through the maze of life, our higher self is the one that perceives it from above, right? It knows what it's doing. So just trust the process. Make sure that you persist in your affirmations, you persist in the end story, visualizing through scripting and so on, and just dwell in the end scenes as much as you can. And this has to happen, right? And that's another thing, is a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about persisting, and I feel like they make it a struggle for themselves, right? And I really wanted to clear that up really quick as well. And that is like, when I say persist, right, I mean persist in the assumption that this is already yours. Let me repeat that again. When I say persist, I mean to persist in the assumption that this is already yours. In this case, the union of you with your SP, right? So everything that you're doing right now, affirming, right, visualizing, scripting, inner conversations, anything and everything, right? If you are listening to an affirmation tape and everything, you are essentially doing that basically to like convince yourself that this is already a done deal. You are priming your mind to accept that your desires are a done deal. That's it, right? You're using that, those tools to convince your mind, right? And this is what you are persisting in, the idea that your desires are already a done deal. And all that you're doing is to accept this, right? Is to make your mind accept this fact, and to go into life, right, thinking from this fact, thinking and knowing that this fact is already yours, if you will. That's what you're persisting upon. So I really wanted to clear that as well. And another thing that a lot of people tend to do, struggle with, I guess, is this is something that I've spoken about in one of my videos as well, in the 4 things to look out for in manifesting an SP. This was the last point, and that is how you think SP perceives you. This is like, a lot of people tend to come at it from a place of, SP is always uninterested in me, SP, is not, caring about me, I'm not gonna, like think about SP anymore. And they really have a lot of mental struggle, right? Again, this comes back to the initial thing that I said, they are, struggling because, one, they're seeing things with regards to the 3D right now. And the other thing is, they are assuming unfavorably, right? Because they are not seeing quote unquote movement in front of them, right? And because of that, they always also, because of maybe like say low self-concept with regards to SP or whatsoever, they think that SP is seeing them in a very unfavorable way, right? But if you're truly living in the end, if you're truly persisting in the assumption this is already a done deal, then that's not the case. SP loves you, SP cares for you, SP is seeing you as the prize, and you really have to cultivate that mindset, right? You can always hear the confirmation, from them through inner conversations or through imaginal scenes, and you really persist in those, conversations, and you really persist in that assumption that SP, right, views you in a very favorable way, and SP is seeing you, in the best way possible, and that SP, loves you, cherishes you, and really respects you a lot, right? You really, like cultivate this mindset, because this is in alignment with your end goal. And how do you get the confirmation? Through your imaginal scenes, through inner conversations with them, right? Not from the 3D, right? Don't even think about the 3D, right? So that's how you can do it. Because and you have to, because to like, the reason why I'm saying this is because there's no point in doing all those affirmations, but if you think that SP is still not caring for you, SP is still not loving you, then it's always you putting the effort. Again, this is going back to like, you are focusing on the 3D. So this is something to be mindful about, right? Always think and assume the best. And another thing, of course, like I mentioned about movement, and that's one thing that I see people like kind of struggle with this assumption that people, I understand why, like sometimes people may think like, okay, there is no movement at all, because they are not seeing everything. Just give me a minute, guys. Okay, yeah, sorry, I'm doing my homework whilst doing a YouTube video. Yeah, so what really happens with a lot of people is that they are like, when it comes to SP, right, they tend to really like think about it from a place of like unfavorable thoughts and assumptions, and they think that just because they don't see anything right now, that there is no movement at all, right? But our peripheral visions and the data that we can perceive is only so limited, right? A lot of cases I've seen where like SP was already making active moves, but they didn't see. And the other thing that I always say too is, you don't know what's going on in their head. No one knows, right? And if you are affirming, if you are intending, thought transmissions are real, so things have to take place in their reality. And with regards to thought transmissions, a lot of people love to ask me, okay, how does this translate? Okay, if I'm thinking this thought, how does this translate in their thought? Like what will they be thinking? I don't know. And to be honest, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter, right? It can come from as an inspiration. It can, we don't know. They may see a billboard with your name on it and they may feel inspired to call you. We don't know what's going on. But what we can do is to assume favorably and to keep going. That's what we can do, and that's what we should do, right? So, always intend that there's always favorable movement behind the scenes and you keep going. That's it, right? So guys, we have come to the end of this video. If this video resonated with you, be sure to drop a like and a comment down below. Also, turn on the notification bell, and be sure to subscribe as well, because I'm uploading videos every single week right now. And follow me on my Instagram page as well, because I'll be posting like daily posts as well there. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and happy manifesting. Peace.